speak, to share this with people who are suffering or whose pets are suffering. So with that, Angela, I love your passion, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story again.
Hi, everybody. So how much time do you want me to take? Is this like a 2-minute testimony or?
Oh, no. Take as much time as you need.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. So I, as most of you know, I'm a registered nurse by trade. I grew up with a long history of a medical family, and I, went to nursing school, and I believed all the Western ways, and I didn't believe there was anything really outside of that other than chiropractic care, because my mother was a chiropractor and a medical doctor. So she became a medical doctor first, then a chiropractor, and after she passed away and going through some of her things, I actually found a certificate or a degree where she had, and a picture of her graduating class from physical therapy school. I'm like, holy cow, like this woman was really remarkable. And I didn't appreciate her knowledge then, but I sure do now. So with that being said, when I was working at UCLA, they came out with like a mandatory hepatitis B vaccine for all the nurses that were working in the ICU, because of course we were highly at risk for blood contamination. Getting people in the ER that are bleeding out, or getting them up from the ER that are bleeding out, we were at high risk. So of course I got the first dose of the hepatitis B vaccine and did not feel well. So a month later it was time for the second one, and I went and I told them I wasn't feeling well. After that, I really wasn't feeling well. There was something seriously wrong with me. I was super active. I was working full time as an ICU nurse. I was proctoring new nurses. I was in the process of developing 2 courses for the med school. I taught critical care courses. I was on the new products committee, and I was on the ethics committee. So I was super, super active. Not to mention I had a young family too. And so, I went to my doctor and gave him my symptoms, and he did a neuro check on me, and I laughed through the whole thing because I was so weak. And he like grabbed my shoulders and he said, "No, get serious. I want you to resist me." And so he did the whole testing again, and I did my best to resist, but I couldn't. So he hugged me and said he promised to find out what was wrong with me within the month. So anyway, to make a long story short, I was one of the lucky ones who got a vaccine injury, and I got a rare disease called myasthenia gravis. They call it gravis because it affects your diaphragm and you can't breathe at times. So I spent the next year really fighting for my life. And when I wasn't responding to traditional medicine, of course, I sought out other things. And that's what really started me, opening my eyes to there's more to just Western medicine. So I did, help my doctor find something that worked for me. The FDA was actually doing a study on it. It was a natural product, by the way. And it really was helping me. It wasn't getting rid of my disease, but it was helping me control it. It was helping me manage it. And so now fast forward a couple years ago. So a couple years ago, my husband and I are traveling. We went to Missouri, and the California girl had to see the river. And I hiked down in my shorts and sandals through the brush, and I was just like thrilled to be there where these 2 rivers came together. It was just beautiful. And I get up to the car, and I notice I have these, my legs are covered like with black pepper, like literally pepper. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I like plucked one off my leg and I was looking at it, and it literally looked like pepper. Like there were no legs or head or anything. It literally, so I thought it was pollen. And I had suntan lotion on, so it was hard to brush it off. I picked a few off and I just thought, oh, forget it. I'm going to shower later. I'll get them off, when I shower. So later that afternoon, we're in the car and I'm looking at my legs and one is crawling. Freaked me out. So I start Googling, like, what is this? And I discovered it was seed ticks. So then I started Googling, like, what's the chance of me getting Lyme disease? I mean, I literally was covered in them, covered. My husband had socks on. So I was looking at my husband's legs and they were all in his socks, but they couldn't get above his socks. So not a single one of them got on his skin. But so I got Lyme disease. Apparently I don't do anything small. I got to do it big. And so a week and a half later, I was sick. And I mean, so sick that I ached all over. All I could do was whimper day and night. And my husband would say, "Where do you hurt?" And I said, "It's a hurt like I've never felt before. Like I feel like my body is being attacked. Like something is trying to destroy me from the inside out." It was so hard to describe. And I had this 102 fever. If I sat up, and as a nurse, I knew I was like having this vagal response where, some patients get it when they hold their breath, their blood pressure bottoms out and they throw up and they kind of pass out. And then, they start breathing and they come back. Well, I started having like a vagal response where, I'd sit up, everything would get black, I'd throw up and, like start to pass out. And so all I could do was lay flat. So I would go to the doctor, I get diagnosed with Lyme disease, he starts me on treatment, and I go to UC San Diego to a Lyme specialist there. She starts treating me. And as the months are going on, I'm watching myself decline. In some ways, I'm a little bit better, but in other ways, I'm not. And at this point, I was working in a surgery center, and they had just started general surgeries, and they wanted me to teach the staff how to manage and recover a general surgery patient. So I was like, my brain was in such a brain fog, I didn't feel competent. I felt like I could be the support person, but not the lead. I knew I was in trouble. And giving pain medications to patients, I was like, even though, I didn't have to check my narcotic dose with another nurse, I always would, because I didn't trust myself. And so I ended up leaving the surgery center and I started doing home health where I wouldn't be involved with drugs, administering medications, or too many. I administered IV medications, but they're already pre-mixed and everything. But it was getting really bad. I started falling. My brain fog was so bad that I thought I had Alzheimer's. My husband would say, "Do you realize we just talked about that 10 minutes ago?" And I couldn't even keep track of my regime. I had antibiotics, I had glutathione, I had turmeric, I had essential oils. I had this 2 essential oil concoctions that the doctor had made for me specifically, and I had grapeseed and grapefruit seed extract to take. I could not keep track of my regime. I mess it up every morning. So by August, I was done. I was done. I told my kids, I said, "I think this is just going to take me out. I don't think I can work much longer. I'm falling. I feel like I need a walker." I just really had pretty much lost hope that there was going to be any fixing this disease. And my joints ached. It was terrible. And when I would fall hard. The first time I fell, I split my knee wide open. It was like all my weight just landed on my knee. It wasn't a normal fall. Like when people fall, you like brace yourself, so not, it's not like all your weight, on one part of your body. So, I started talking to my husband about, the short term, how long am I going to be able to work? And I was also having to manage LVNs, bath aides, physical therapists, physical therapy techs, communications, doctor's orders, and I was struggling. So anyway, somebody told me about Protandim, and I decided I would jump in. And I jumped in. I really didn't think it was going to help me, but at that point, I was done with the whole Lyme disease program. I was over it. I didn't see it benefiting me enough to continue with it. It was $500 a month for all my supplements, for everything I was taking. It was ridiculous. The doctor had even ordered, to tell you how bad my memory was and how dangerous I was. The doctor had ordered a saliva test. So I was supposed to spit in this bottle within 30 minutes of awakening. And the little vial was labeled, AM. And then I was supposed to spit in the bottle just before I ate lunch, and then spit in the bottle just before I had dinner, and then spit in the bottle just before I went to bed. First time, and all the bottles were labeled. I'm embarrassed to say that I screwed it up. I couldn't even keep it straight. So I spit in the evening bottle, I totally messed it up, and I had to, humble myself and tell my doctor that I screwed it up and I needed new vials. So she sent me the new vials, and as embarrassing as it is, I screwed that up too. But I wasn't going to tell her. So I sent it in to the lab. Well, I sent it to the wrong lab. And I just knew, like, this is not me. Like, I'm sharp, I'm quick, I'm together, it just was not me. I felt like a 90-year-old woman with Alzheimer's. It was awful. So I quit all the supplements. I just gave up, and I started taking the Protandim. And I'm not kidding. I took the Axio, the Protandim, and the ProBio because I knew my gut was messed up from being a year on antibiotics, and especially doxycycline. It's really hard on your gut. So I'm not kidding. Within a month, within 2 weeks, my brain fog was gone, completely gone. I was singing, praises. I was like so excited that, my brain fog was gone. And within a month, my aches and pains were gone, and the ground actually felt stable underneath my feet. So I've got horses. I wasn't even riding. I didn't trust myself to ride. I didn't trust myself to handle the horse because I was so unsteady on my feet that I knew a nudge or a quick turn, I'd be on the ground. And I didn't do anything with my horses. And I can tell you now that I do everything with my horses now. I feel completely healthy. I've got my life back. I'm exercising. I've got my mental capacity back, and I'm just so thankful for what this has done for me in my life. I really am. And it comes in ways that you may never expect. And especially a nurse that was so into Western medicine. I read the science on this and knew that this was the real deal. But I didn't expect to get the results that I did get, and I'm just really thankful. So
that's awesome, Angela. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so exciting to hear your story. Each time I hear it, I'm just amazed at not only what you've been through, your tenacity and hanging on, your tenacity and just working hard to find a better way, and then trying the proteanum and finding what you were looking for. It's really exciting because it helps me in my being able to step outside my comfort zone to share with other people, because there are so many people who are suffering. And I love your passion for life and for sharing this with other people as well. You also have an incredible story about your horse too. I don't know if you want to share that briefly. That would be great.
Sure. So I used to raise and breed horses. It was my part-time job. It was my plan B, and we showed horses. And I'm not a millionaire, but so I had to be really choosy with what type of breeding I would do. So I bred for athleticism. So I had horses that could show in any discipline and succeed. And so my one stallion, he out of all my stallions, he was my favorite. He just had such an attitude. He was so confident and full of character. His name was Cy King, and he was good at psyching people out. If I would lead him out from a stall, he would look both ways, up and down the breezeway, and see if anybody was there. And if nobody was there, it was like he would shrug his shoulders and just walk out like a normal horse. If people were there, he would puff up, snort, and come out just trotting, showing off that he was hot stuff. And when I would take him to a show, just before we'd go into the class, there'd be, all the horses would be there with their trainers. I'm telling you, this guy he would just puff up, and he just had a look in his eye like, hey guys, don't even bother. I've got this. And he was champion after champion after champion, national champion, Canadian national champion. I mean, this guy just really had the attitude. And so he had an untimely death, and he had to have a surgery, and unfortunately he didn't make it through the surgery. But I was fortunate enough to buy back one of his foals, and I named her Cy King's Legacy. I call her Legs for short. And she was going to be my next national champion horse. And so I was working with her, training her, and she just super smart, brilliant mind, eager to learn. She would learn it quick, master it, and be like, okay, what's next? Like, just had such a show heart, and just like her dad. And but unfortunately, one night we had a bad storm, and what I think happened is that she was laying down, and we had a huge, tremendous clap of thunder. And I think she sprung to her feet, and then her back feet went out from under her, and she landed on her right hip, damaging the nerve root in the right hip. So if you can imagine a horse's back end leaning to the left, like she was leaning to the left, and her right leg was kind of hanging out from her body, while her left leg was kind of tucked under her to help support her. Well, if you know anything about horses, we have a saying, no legs, no horse. So horses have to have their legs, and there are no three-legged horses. So I, went to a lot of vets, spent a lot of money on treatment for her. We did stem cells, injections on that nerve. We did red cells. We did pulse electric magnetic therapy. I did chiropractic. I did everything, but nothing lasted for more than a week. So they finally told me just take her home, that it would heal over time. Well, it wasn't. She was, every year she was a little bit worse, and her good leg that was having to compensate for the bad leg was now starting to decline. So this is 4 years later. And so I thought, well, I was really at a crossroads, and I really love my horses, and I try to wait for them to tell me when they're done, with everything. They'll kind of get a look in their eye that, they're tired, they're done. I was kind of looking for that in her and not getting it. And so um, I started her on Protandim, and I did a video of her so you could see that she was wearing her feet irregularly. She had flare in areas because she wasn't standing straight on her back feet. She was wearing one hoof to a point, like a stiletto, and she was losing, like she didn't really know where her back end was. So it was like she would throw her back end around when she wanted to turn. And so look out if you're anywhere near her back end, because she really had no idea, spatial sense of where you were in comparison to her back end. So in that respect, she was a little bit, you had to really be aware, when you were around her and her back end. So a month later, I noticed progress. Now, this is a horse that I used to have to help get up sometimes because she couldn't do it. She didn't have the strength to get herself up. And so in that month, I noticed she was a little bit better, and she just kept getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And pretty soon, when I would turn her out, she would run. This is after the Protandim, yes. After the Protandim. And when I would turn her out, she would walk around, but she wouldn't trot or run or anything like that. I turned her out one day, and she goes running around, kicking up her heels. I couldn't believe it. I was like thoroughly amazed. And then she actually got down on the ground and rolled to scratch her back. And I turned on the camera because I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Is she going to be able to get up? Boom! Like a normal horse, she just, got right to her feet. It was unbelievable. It's on my Facebook. So I took the videos to the doctor, who was he's a lameness doctor, but he specializes in neurological lamenesses, disorders. And I took the video to him, and he couldn't believe it. And I took him to Washington State University study. And he told me, he said, you need to double this. He goes, double this for 3 months, and I want you to bring her to me. I'm going to document this. So, and he could see, her left leg had really decompensated, how bad her hips were. She had a tremendous muscle atrophy in her butt. Her right hip was actually higher than the left. But in a month, both hips were even. She still had some muscle atrophy, but both hips were even. But I can tell you now, I don't even work this horse. Like, I'm afraid to, until this doctor looks at her. But she has no muscle atrophy. And when the farrier would come to do her feet, we had to lean her up against a wall because she couldn't support her weight when you would pick up that one foot. She had no strength to hold herself up. And he came to do her, and it was a hot day, and I ran up to the house. He was doing my other horses, so I didn't think he had done her yet. I ran up to the house to get him some water, and when I came back down, he goes, hey, he always called her the horse that got struck by lightning, even though she didn't get struck by lightning. He goes, where's that horse that got struck by lightning? And I go, she's right there. And he goes, no, the one that we always have to lean up against a building. He goes, did you put her down? I go, no. I go, that's her right there. And he was like, I just did her. He goes, I didn't have to lean her up against anything. She held her weight. He goes, so what are you doing? And I told him. He goes, keep her on it. So next week, I take her back to Dr. Hoge, and he's going to document her case. But she wouldn't even back up on her own. She knows where her butt is now. She turns with her whole body. she's not 100%, but she's 90%. You know, I'd say she's 90%. She still has, she occasionally has that right leg kind of out from her body a little bit, but it's like when she realizes it, she squares herself up. So now she's correcting herself. And anyway, I'm thrilled with Protandim and what it's doing for us too. So
that's awesome, Angela. That is incredible. You know, I remember part of your story, and I don't remember if you shared it, but when you took those videos to the doctor, he asked you if there was a human formula, didn't he?
Yes, yes, he did, and I brought him some. He wanted it for himself.
He could see the value of it.
Right.
That is awesome. That is incredible. Again, I love hearing those stories, and I had the privilege of staying in Angela's, and I got to be around Legacy, and it was just a lot of fun. You wouldn't have known that she was, you know, had a limp or anything. She looked great. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
So with that, does anybody have any questions for Angela before we pop on to Passion Planner?
Hi, I do, please. Can you hear me?
Just barely.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse the rooster. Hey, Angela, that's so awesome. I'm so glad that you trusted whoever shared the product with you. Wow. I'm wondering, what are you taking now? Are you just taking NRF2? What are you taking?
I take it all. I take the stack, the NRF1, NRF2, the ProBio, and the Omegas, and of course the Axio. And by the way, I suffered my 3rd concussion this last April. Legacy nailed me in the face. So with her head, she got scared. I didn't see it. My head was down, and she just came up and nailed me with her head. And it was my 3rd concussion, and the doctor had warned me about another one. My last one took me 6 months to recover from. I started stuttering, and then after the stuttering went away, I couldn't remember names of things like wheelchair, gurney, crutch, brace. You know, then my friends were making fun of me that, you know, I was playing charades again. And I doubled up on my Axio, and within a month, my you know, concussion symptoms were all gone. And I was really worried because, of course, it was my 3rd.
Right.
So I'm sold on the product. I'm always going to be on it. I'm never going to go off of it. I remember all too well how I felt before. I mean, I'm never going off it. But I don't take any other medication as far as for my Lyme disease. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, so I do take a thyroid pill. But I don't take any other medication or supplement.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have a question for Angela?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Someone typed it in, but I'm wondering if you will be sharing after Legacy has her next appointment, if you'll be sharing that video.
Sure. I can share the videos that I have of her now. I have 3. Actually, I have 4. I just took another one because, like, she's so smart. I had her in an arena with another horse, and I was trying to get her to trot. And I was outside of the arena, and I said, "Legs, trot." And she just started trotting. And she has the most beautiful motion in her back legs. I mean, horse people love to see, you know, horses that are loose in the hocks, you know, like in their knees or their back legs just moving. she has tremendous action in her hocks. It's just beautiful. And her stance, I mean, you'd never know this horse had anything wrong with her.
Wow.
She's just gorgeous. It makes me now wish that I took more videos of her in the very beginning, so you could see how bad she was. But I do have close-up shots of her hip and how she would like almost like didn't have all of her weight on her foot, and it would like rock, like, or she'd be on her toe on the other foot. So I have those videos that, you know, are pretty clear, but I wish I had more of like her movement, because when she would walk, her shoulders were coming towards you, but her back end was a little off to the right. You know, she wasn't walking straight.
Yeah, you could tape yourself describing that, I think, and accompany it with pictures if you do like a YouTube thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Day, I deal with horses too, so I'm curious, like 1 pill a day, and how long did it take her?
I started her with 1 pill a day because I really didn't know. So I just started her with 1 pill a day, and within a month I started seeing a difference. Like I watched her eating, and she had her head down and both legs were straight, and that was new. I just started noticing subtle things. And like I said, she's super smart. I came home one day and she was down, and I went in there and I said, "You need help up?" And normally she would just stick her nose, you know, in the halter, and then I'd give her a little pull and she'd get up. Well, it was like she was mad, and she just like turned her head away from me, was looking back towards her butt. And I was like, "Hey, do you need help up or what?" You know, let me have your nose. And she just turned her head away. And I said, "Well, then get up." And she just got up. I couldn't believe it. So just, I'm thrilled because she's so smart and she's so sweet, and she's the last I have of Psy King. And maybe she'll never show, but, you know, maybe we will be able to enjoy, you know, trail rides again. And that would be fabulous. That would be fabulous.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much.